So today on Success Excuses podcast, we have the one and only Billy Farrell. How are you doing, Billy?
I'm great. I'm fantastic.
Super duper, man.
How are you?
Listen, you know me, Billy. I'm always on top of the world, mate. Always on top of the world, no matter what.
That's what I love about you, mate.
Always find a bright star in that dark sky. Hey, listen. The reason I wanted to get you onto the Success Excuses podcast is, Billy, you've got an incredible story. Right, we've got a very similar background. If we talked about this, I was on your podcast.
You were,
and we talked about the similar backgrounds. And I really want. It's obviously it's all about success and excuses and how we make excuses in life and the path that takes us versus, you know, when we actually change our mindset. And I want you to just quickly, first of all, tell us about. You've got a new business going, so give us a wee bit about the background of Billy, and then we'll go back the way. How's that sound?
Story. Got to start with that. Are we starting for the start, or are we going to the new?
Let's start the new first.
The new,
right now.
Okay. So, as you know, the last couple of years have presented a few challenges, as always happens in business. And last year, what we thought was actually, what was our biggest year financially, turned out to be one hell of a year in the end, in a negative way. But this is business, and this is why I love coming on these things and talking about it, because this is the real world. Mm-hmm. And there's too many people flashing the shiny objects, Instagram selling the lifestyle, that people get seduced into thinking that either this is what you should have or this is how easy it is. When success, that word is very loaded.
Yes.
Has got an entirely different meaning for every single person. And it's all about the journey along the way. So I want to talk about all of this. Right now, we've kicked off our new marketing agency, Mayhem Marketing.
Great name for you. Sounds perfect.
You know me, mate. I like to create the madness. In the first 6 weeks of doing business, we've already got a 6-figure turnover in the first 6 weeks.
Wow.
So we're not doing too bad. And I plan to blow that up and take it big and learn for the benefit of mistakes we've made, things that we've let happen to us, all the rest of it. So that's where we're at right now. We're on fire. We're moving mountains, and we're going to war for our clients.
Superb. Listen, I want to stick to that now before we go back the way.
Good.
So you just mentioned, I mean, obviously, you know, we know each other pretty well now through business. In fact, I actually met my very start of my entrepreneurial journey was actually following you.
Aye,
remember LinkedIn Inferno?
Mm-hmm.
That was so that was the start of my journey, was following you. So I've been obviously following you for a long, long time, and I kind of look up to you, and I'll tell you why, because the authenticity, right? You just say it as it is, and I love that. Like sometimes, even myself, by the way, I'm scared sometimes to really say what I feel, because you don't want to, you don't want to offend, woke. So you're kind of sometimes holding back, but you don't. No. You just go for it. So on that note, go and tell us the last couple of years, because it was going huge. It was really taking off, and then boom.
Off we go.
You know, what was the lesson? First of all, without getting into any detail, what happened and what was going on in your head when you decided I need to restart?
So let me touch on something you said first, and then we'll get right into that. I'll tell you about the last few years, because I think there is a lot of things that other people on the journey can learn from this sort of stuff. Because it's like, if we get to hear all sides of every story, and we get to understand that, you know what, this can be difficult, this can be hard, there's a lot of things that can go right, a lot of things that can go wrong, and we're always learning. If you can shortcut your own possible mistakes, and you can fast track your own success by dialing into other people like yourself, like me, listen to these sort of podcasts, and you get that reality chat, it's going to really help people a hell of a lot more. And that's what fires me up to go, you know, I'm not making any money by doing this. Sure, we'll get clients in the marketing company through doing things like this, we always do. But for me, this is a real lifesaver. Through my own challenges with mental health and everything else, being able to gain that bit of wisdom to other people based on my fuck-ups and my wins. Am I allowed to swear on it?
Of course you can, man.
Fantastic, good.
Billy, come on, it's my podcast.
That's it, mate. Last few years have been a roller coaster. So 2021, an 18-year relationship ended, and that was the start of the divorce process. In the same year, 3 or 4 months later, I went through another divorce with my business partner. No ill will, no negativity, no hard feelings, just different paths.
Yeah.
And that was 2 financially turbulent moments. And that kind of set me on a different path, where I thought, you know, I've always been the marketing engine behind everything I do. And I want to put every penny I've got and every bit of energy I've got into building a real big marketing agency. So we went for it, right? Now, I'll talk about that, but along that last few years, there's been identity crisis. There's been, I'm very close to my 4 kids. I'm a very committed, all-in dad. There's been having those kids and moving out of the house that they sleep in, and then having to co-parent. There's been challenges with their mental health, autism, ADHD, my mental health, relationships gone wrong. All of it has been a fucking mental few
and the
years.
guilt that comes along with it.
Mate, every roller coaster of emotion. But the thing is, I'm actually grateful for it. And don't get me wrong, at the time when you're going through the shit, you're not sitting saying, thank you, higher power, universe, God, law of attraction, whatever. Thank you for another lesson. You're like, for fuck's sake.
For another
kick
kick
a
in the
break,
balls.
man. Right? But it's the whole life happens for me, not to me. We can either back down or get stronger. And every single thing that happens is an opportunity, if you take it that way, to level up, get stronger, get to know yourself better, and get to be just a better human being all around, better than you were yesterday. So everything that's happened in the last few years has gave me the opportunity to level up and be a better me. And as far as I'm concerned, mate, my story's just beginning.
I love
The
it.
first 40 years of my life were a wake up. That was the education, it was the wake up, it was the fucking craziness. Right? Now, school's out. Now we go. So
the lessons you're learned, it's fair to say then, if you go back to all the things that's happened in your past and in your life, right? If you've taken a lesson for every single one of those, even when we question why we're going through it, those laws of attraction, those that what we're attracting into our life, you've taken a lesson for them, and that's made you a stronger person, business owner.
Like, what else can you do? There's a few, I'll come back to what you asked initially a minute ago about the business journey, the last few years. But like, I remember 3-4 years ago when I was at the start of that very big life change, from going for paying ourselves like 25-30 grand a month on average, living the dream, 6 holidays a year, all the rest of it, to, everything just changed. What the fuck just happened? Right? Humbled. Right? But at that same time when I was going through that, a friend of mine who I've not seen since then, funnily enough, but I've kind of kept an eye on, he was going through similar challenges. And I remember saying to him, right, this is us, right? This is the start, this is something new. And he's like, I don't know, and all the rest of it. He started drinking heavily and having a smoke and taking a load off and feeling sorry for himself. And, to our point, that's somewhat justified, that life happens sometimes and it's tough, right? But there are victims in life, and then there's victim mentality. Victim mentality is the 80%. Real victims are the 20%, I would say.
I would agree,
right?
100%.
And that victim mentality is to blame, complain, justify, is to look at the world around about you and say, poor me, right? No, not poor you, right? I love you, so I'm going to slap you in the fucking head. Get up, get your ass in gear, let's go, right? But my friend didn't. And if you look at the 2 different trajectories over the last few years, they've not really moved. In fact, they've declined health, fitness, mindset, income, all the rest of it, right? Whereas I've took a different path. And I believe I became stronger and better off, and financially and business and everything. Even though we've had a dip in business, I'm still on a much better path. I've learned so much more. And that's not shit on the other person. It's to say, come on, up you get. Let's go. You can fucking do this. Do you know what I mean? I believe guys like us, mate, we're a message to the world. And I know that's very egotistical and bold to say, but I think that a big part of the motivator for me, and we've spoke about this sort of stuff, is it's like, if we guys like us can get out and do something with our life, if you've got that calling inside, that natural drive for more, if we've got that and we can tap that, think of how many other guys that you can say if we can down a bad road that we could have very well went down as well. So the business front, the question you asked,
Go for that one,
because I'm full of rants this morning, right? Essentially what happened was 3-4 years ago, went all in with the media agency, had a few steady years of growth. We were doing well, right? Then last year, we started the year and we took on a couple of big clients. And I'm talking big clients here, right? Everything, the whole brand side of things, the web side of things, multiple websites for different parts of their business, membership sites, different marketing resources, scorecards, webinars, advertising, social, all of it. So I'm like, quids in, here we go, right? And me being a risk taker, bold as you like, I was like, cool. So I grew the team very quickly to accommodate that, right? Which opens up a few training system and operational gaps, right? Grew the team, financially stretched us. Then we took on another big client, just the same, right? And then we started to really roll with another number of clients on a monthly retainer to the tune of about 300 grand a year on the retainers, which we then bit by bit lost based on a few cracks in the team.
Yeah.
And it's not because we were doing necessarily a bad job as a company, but there was a few weak links in the chain, and I'm not doing that to blame. It just is what it is, because that's the reality as well.
Billy, I've been there.
Aye.
Just recently, but carry
You know
on.
the drill, right?
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily have the ability to blame the people who fucked it up along the way. I need to look at myself and say, where did I fuck it up by not paying attention, by being spread too thin, by being too bold, taking too many risks and all the rest of it, right? So as we got towards the tail end of last year, well, actually kind of midway through the year, third quarter, one of the big clients that we had, the biggest one we had, went into liquidation. And the mistake I'd made was not taking money for them. So everything was on a promise.
Aye.
So here I had stretched the team, stretched my resources, brought everybody in to do this job, and suddenly pop. So we're left on a fortune. And then what do? You're like, oh shit, you know. And
Business need to bring in new clients, new customers.
You've got
spending.
6 different departments. You need to bring in new clients. You need to go big. So we're out running about trying to get big clients in. But then I'm putting that on a team that are already overwhelmed because of inconsistencies in the flow of the team and the operations and how slow certain things were being done. So big clusterfuck.
Aye.
But it's that way that you look at it, and I look back, and at the time it was just...
See it? Did you see it coming? But you were fighting it because of that risk taker inside
Some
you.
people roll over companies for fun,
Aye.
or to write off debts, or fuck the government, or fuck the suppliers, whatever else.
Which can be understandable with tax,
a point.
man.
To a
which
point.
can be understandable.
Aye, to a point. But as far as I'm concerned, you know, if I create a debt, it's my job to pay it, whether it's corporate or not. That's just my personal sense of responsibility. And the only debt we ran up was HMRC. Because when you get through hard months and things are really tight, it's like, well, do you know what? What can I not pay to make sure the staff get paid and looked
Absolutely.
after? We need fucking thanks, might add.
Aye.
But you make sure everybody around about you gets paid.
Absolutely.
Right? Except you. So we went through that, and then towards the tail end of last year, I'd lost all passion for it, James. You know, I remember driving up the motorway.
Scun it.
More than that, to be honest. I'm going to be very real here, right? More than that, because maybe September, October last year, I was in a very dark place again. I am fucking wired to the moon. Neurodiversity, I've got most of the boxes ticked, right?
Yeah.
And I know everybody says, oh, I've got a bit of autism in me. I've got a bit of ADHD. We're all about ADHD. Listen, shut the fuck up, right? Just because you've got characteristics that resemble someone who's got extreme versions of those characteristics does not mean
Make you the
that
same.
you tick the fucking boxes, right? So when people who are neurodiverse, ADHD, autistic, when they feel, I tend to find, especially with my daughters as well, you feel harder and faster than a lot of other people.
Right.
And sometimes processing the emotions can be very difficult. So it's either all the way up here or all the way down here. And that's something a lot of entrepreneurs deal with as well.
Yep.
Because we are wired differently.
Yep.
There's something different in there that allows us to take the risks and be bold and be out there. Something that makes us want to not just conform and stick to what's normal, but to actually go out and build and create and do something different with our lives. So as somebody like that, and also with these different challenges in my own life, and plus with the business challenges and personal challenges and stuff with the kids and all of it, I got to a point where I'm driving up the motorway last year, and in my head, I'm writing fucking notes to my daughters in my head. You know what I mean?
Aye. Yeah, no, aye.
And it was a horrible, dark place.
Aye.
And I thought, what the fuck am I doing? So at that point, I started listening to some different content about happiness and starting to think, am I doing what makes me happy, or am I just a fucking sacrifice? You know, because as a man, you take the weight on.
That's powerful, man.
Aye.
Oh, dearie me. I want to stick to that, but keep going now.
Especially as a man, right? And if I can get a few challenges on that statement, but you know, I tend to see myself as it's my job to protect, provide, preside,
Yep.
to look after the people I love, to feed, to support, to bring other people up, right? And to fucking kill if I have to.
How
to
you're
do it.
wired.
Aye, right.
Absolutely.
That's it. And you can have that masculine without the toxicity. I'll just throw that in for the woke watching.
Absolutely.
Right? So, you know, going through all that, I thought, am I just the sacrifice? Or should I actually experience a bit of happiness in my life? Do I actually deserve to be in a relationship that makes me happy? do I deserve to have things go well in business for once? Am I showing up every day and actually enjoying what I do? And honestly, most of the boxes were a no, you know, and that spills over into your personal life, how you're showing up as a parent, some of the things you're dealing with ex-partners and with financial stuff and all of it, mate. And then you let other parts of your life slip, like your fitness and all of it. And I got sick. And a couple of months into the end of last year, I was ill. The weight was dropping off me. We were out for dinner.
That's right.
And I was away at the bathroom.
You were ill.
I was away throwing up in the bathroom.
That's right, you were ill.
Because my body gave up. So, the last few months have been a massive turnaround. And it's been a total fucking wake-up call, mate. And as much as there's still challenges, bigger challenges, because that's what it's like in business, than
absolutely
your average punter's going to face on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely.
It's probably the happiest time I've had in a hell of a long time. Financially, business, personally, with the kids, all of it.
Aye.
So that's where we're now.
But you've put yourself into that point. And that's really what I wanted to, I wanted to go back, right, about entrepreneurs, business owners, risk takers. We're wired different, right?
Aye.
But I wouldn't say that I was born wired different, right? I would say that it's something that I've developed. I've always been a risk taker.
Aye.
I've always thought, I can do that. I can do that. But it wasn't until I actually became a business owner when I realised, first of all, how hard it is. The massive risks because you're putting everything on the line, right? You're putting everything on the line. You're putting your happiness, you're putting your relationship, you're putting your kids' sometimes happiness.
Absolutely.
Because you hit the dips and you've not got the money you used to have. And we are wired different, but I think it's something we learn. And there's a reason I'm saying this. I think what we do is we learn from all those past experiences and everything that we've gone through, and we develop that risk-taker mindset. We'll take bigger risks, we'll push harder. And the reason being, it's something you said is, I'll get better if I just keep moving forward. And that's going back to that excuses. If you've got that success mindset, you know it's going to get better. It's just about getting up every morning, making your bed and making the day count. And I think really that's really what happiness is all about. It's when your outcomes and your expectations align, you start to feel a sense of self-worth again. And would you agree?
Aye, I would, absolutely. Aye, 100%. And it's quite funny. There's a lot of people out there waiting for you to fail as well, along the way. What I find interesting, James, is that, and I love not getting the pricks of satisfaction. That's one of my favourite things. Because you can't really fail. You can't fail. Because every step forward is just another step towards where you're going, right? If you fuck something up, if you make a mistake, if you lose a company, if you make a public error, whatever, right? You can't really fail, because see, tomorrow when you wake up, you're 35 years old, you're 46 years old, are you going to stop working? Are you going to stop feeding your family? Is your need to actually exist gone? No, you still need to earn. Absolutely. You still need to produce. You still need to get up and get on with the fucking day. You still need to parent. You still need to be there. And if you're wired like us, well, even if you go through a hard patch, which I see a lot of people doing, they then get up and they go, oh, do you know what? I'm just going to take it easy this time and I'm going to go a bit smaller this time. No chance. Few months in, they get some opportunities for here and there. And
away they go again.
Off they go. But the people who are waiting for others to fail, what's interesting about that is you will very rarely hear someone who has been successful shit on somebody who's on the way up.
Yeah.
Very rarely will you ever hear that, because as the saying goes, I'm not even going to try and quote the saying, but successful people talk about ideas, they talk about their vision, where they're going, what they're trying to achieve. And if you've really been through it to that level, you have made mistakes along the way. I don't know anyone who's won big who's not been through serious hardship and almost fucking destroyed themselves in the process. So the thing is, with the people who are looking in and judging, they might consider themselves someone who is to do their own thing and all the rest of it, but really they're still in the audience spectating while the real fucking players are in the game.
The real ones are burning the bridges. They're shut. This is happening. You know, this is happening no matter what.
And I'll get kicked in my arse. I'll eat fucking sand. The Man in the Arena, I've got it tattooed in my arm, right? It's one of my favourite poems. It's like those timid souls, those cold and timid souls who sit in the audience and watch and spectate and judge and criticise. It's your fucking fat dad, your fat uncle sitting on the couch with a can of lager watching the football, criticising the young fit guys actually in the game.
Absolutely.
Right? They will never know what it feels like to get back up after defeat. They'll never know what it feels like to work your arse off and win, right? So the people who are watching and criticising, spectating and judging, their opinions do not matter. Because if you're in the game, you're always going to get it. It's part of the journey. But the sad thing is, James, is that a lot of people will talk about Elon Musk and they'll say, oh, Elon Musk sacrificed it all. He almost lost Tesla several times. He almost lost this. He sold PayPal for 180 million or whatever it was and ended up skint sleeping in his pal's couch. Richard Branson was almost broke, almost bankrupt until he became a billionaire. They champion the success stories of the greats, but when wee Joe the plumber down the road falls, it's like, I fucking knew it. I knew it. Joe was a dafty. This was always coming. I thought he was the big man.
And they're the ones that put the Richard Branson quotes up and the Elon Musk quotes up and they're kicking the wee guy.
Be kind.
I know.
Oh,
listen, I've got since you had a quote there, mine's one of my favourite quotes right through the start of my journey is David Henry Thoreau.
Yep.
And it's the mass of today's society will live lives of quiet desperation, for they will never learn to throw off the chains of fear and self-doubt. And that's the guys that kick you. That's the guys that can't wait to see you fail. And do you know why? Because they can't do it. We say guy, by the way, gender neutral term.
We know what we mean.
We know what they mean. So it's they're sitting for a complete. They're in a different world, right? And that's why I wrote my book Success or Excuses, because we can live in two worlds, right? It's a choice we make, right? And we talked about this, right? We assume the easy choice, right, or the success is the hard part. The other way about, we think, oh, take the easy path. It's actually no. Success is the hard path.
Absolutely.
Right, that's the tough path. That's exactly what you've talked about. That's the ups and downs. That's I think there was days, right, Billy, at the start of my journey that I didn't even know how I was going to put food on the table. I didn't know how I was going to pay my bills. I sold all my design. I used to be, ex-oil and gas. I had nice designer watches, and my wife, being from the Middle East, they're into their gold. Gold's their currency of saving. We were in Glasgow pawning our gold and our watches. Because I was making this work. Fast forward now, and I've got a multi-million pound business, but it's that mindset. And by the way, there was people dying for me to fail. Dying for me to feel. Some of the stories I heard, it's all right for James because this and James because that, and he had a high figure oil and gas and he had all this money, and I'm like, what? I started from nothing. Like I wasn't like a lot of people start a business, right? Well, because they're a good joiner or they're good at marketing and they've got 10 years experience, working in a marketing agency or something.
That's nice.
Right? So when they start a business, I came from oil and gas. I've never done training and developed my life, but I had a vision. I knew exactly, because see all the leadership training that I was on and I was sending my team on was shite. Was absolute shite. And I thought, there's got to be a better way of doing this. So I built it. That was it. I build it and they will come. I had no idea what I was doing, but I knew I had that vision of what I was trying to create. And I think that's really important, especially when you're in those dips. Just keep focusing, keep believing, just keep digging, a little bit forward.
And learn. If you don't learn, what are you really doing? So it's like...
That's you failing. If you don't learn, if you're not learning from your mistakes.
Do you ever remember like the old Mario games, like when we were wee? Right, I think things are a bit more complex these days, right? But take an old Mario game, right, or a phone game or whatever. But let's go with Mario. And you start off at level 1. You've never played it before, and you get your ass kicked.
Absolutely.
You're charging along, and then you're taken out by a flying turtle. And you're like, happened there, right? Then you go through it again. And again.
And you remember the flying turtle.
You're watching that fucker coming, right? There's a wee fucking toadstool guy there, right? You get to the end of the level and you're like, right, done it. Then you go to level 2. You do the same thing, you go through it again. Then you get to the end of level 3, Then you fight the big boss and he's a fucking hardin, right? But see if you then go back to level 1 again, it's a breeze. It's no bother at all, because you know the drill, you've been through it, you've got muscle memory, you've learned from your experience, you're like bum bum bum. Sometimes you go back just to see how fast you can do it or how high a score you can get, right? But then you beat the big boss and he's brutal. But then when you go to the next level, you level up, as we say in business.
Absolutely.
But then you meet the next big boss and there's 2 of them. But see if you get back and fight the first one again, he's a piece of piss. Business is the same.
Absolutely,
right?
Man, I love that.
It's not supposed to be easy. If it was easy, if 100 people started out and 100 people succeeded for the same prize, the prize would be divided 100 ways, right? And it would lose its value. So the reality is, it's only there for the people who've actually got the stomach to see it through, to get up, to do the daily work, to keep moving forward, and to learn for the flying fucking turtles and the toadstools and the big boss.
Absolutely,
and
man.
keep on leveling up.
Do you know something, right, Billy? I still watch your wee daily snippets, right? So I get your email daily snippets. And this is amazing, right? And I remember I live and breathe this stuff, right? And and there'll be one day I'll press play and I'll go and I'll watch it, and I'll get something out of it.
Aye.
Even when I don't expect it, there's something you've said, whether it's about authenticity or the bullshit stories that people come up with. There's always something, and I think that's what also separates the people who are going to they'll get on in life, is they're willing to know that they don't know everything.
Absolutely.
They know they don't know, or they're constantly willing to learn. And because I always think, right, if you want to be the best, right, anything, you need to be constantly learning and constantly bringing in new knowledge, but then actually doing something with it.
Aye.
Like actually doing something with it. All right, so I know all this stuff, right, in my head. So years and years you're reading and podcasts and, your business journey. You must have, I mean, if you could write a business book, right, based on exactly you've been through in your life, I mean, that is a game changer as well, because people read that and go, he went through that?
Aye.
Because
people don't see it, they just see the end result. They see the end result of what they think success is supposed to look like, right? I had this conversation with somebody last night actually about cars and money and everything else. All these things are beautiful.
Aye, of course.
And you only live once, and in my mind, why not have it all? But real success to me is a foundational thing.
Absolutely, man.
It's a foundation of love, connection, family, being a good man, being a good woman, being a good parent, showing up, doing the fucking work every day, doing the hard stuff.
Being a good leader.
Being a good leader.
For
doing the hard
business.
stuff, learning, growing. And that's the funny thing. I saw a quote the other day. It says, I want a simple life, right? To me, simple is success. You get up early, you read, you learn, you exercise, you eat well, you look after the people you love. And I'm thinking, do you know what's quite interesting about that? Is that if you go back many years, those were the basic building blocks of how people showed up in life.
Absolutely.
Until the world got really, really, really fucked up like it is today, right? Let's not even go there. Right, let's not start. But it's actually difficult to have the basic successful life based on the world we live in.
Absolutely.
With so many distractions, with so much bullshit, right? It's
the
actually
silver bullets to success and all the promising you this and the promising you that, and it's nonsense, man, isn't it? It's absolute nonsense. It's hard graft.
That is. Getting up early isn't easy.
No.
Right? I'm
4:20 in the morning, it's hard.
I'm 5. Being a fully committed parent when your brains are driving you nuts is not easy.
Oh, no.
Dealing with neurodiversity in your children and yourself at the same time is not easy, right? Training daily is not easy.
You sound like you're fucked.
But you know what, mate? I'm on fucking fire.
Aye,
do you know what I mean? This
that.
is the thing. Some people will say, how are you managing to juggle all this shit? Well, it's no shit. It's what you become used to. Like, I'll give you an example. When I had my first daughter, I thought, this is hard, right? When I had my second daughter, I realised 1 was easy.
Yeah.
When I had my third daughter, I thought 2 was a walk in the park. When I had my fourth daughter, I thought, what was I moaning about with 3? Yeah. And then I just realised at that point that unless you back down and run away, every time you level up, you have to put systems, processes, new ways of doing things in. Your resilience grows, your capacity increases, and it becomes your new normal, right? Whereas if I ask a grandparent to watch the 4 kids, it's like all 4 of them, because they're not wired for that.
Aye.
So it's like I'm hardwired for some crazy ass shit. My tolerance for some of the dramas that come on a daily basis, whether it's with kids, whether it's with business, whether it's with, if you're playing a big game, even if you are flying, every day brings fires, every day brings challenges. And it's like the things that used to rattle me don't anymore. And that's something for people listening and watching to get, is that as you fight your way through these fires and level up through the game, you're actually increasing your capacity, increasing your tolerance, and the things that used to be a big deal are no longer a big deal. Therefore, you're now set up for bigger wins because you can handle bigger shit.
Absolutely. So I want to go back to what you said there. What I think happens, right, is we worry about something that's going to happen, right? And it either doesn't happen or it's not as bad as it is, and we learn from it.
It really is.
And that's leveling up in it. It's when we realise that it isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, and then we take the bigger risks. And I mean, I always remember the early days, you know, it was just one business. Any business, just one business, anything, just to keep the money coming in. And then, as you said, as you level up, you know, you're now looking at some of the largest companies in the UK, and you're going, right, I want them next, and I want them next, and I want them next.
That's it.
You just you change, and I think that's what being an entrepreneur is all about. We can see opportunities that most people will never ever see.
Agreed.
Because we're constantly looking for them, because we're wired to look for opportunities that align with our vision and align with the growth and align with that. Would you agree?
I would, and I'd also say that when it comes to like your wealth thermostat, if we want to call it that, it's like if you're used to earning a certain amount, just the same as the capacity for challenges becomes your new normal, and you can be at peace in that. When you're used to earning more or creating more or going for the bigger clients, that becomes your new normal too.
Absolutely.
And suddenly you look at it and you're like, I spoke to somebody a while ago and they started a business, and I says, right, and they're like, have I done everything right? Have I set this up? Have I done that? I was like, yep. Have you registered for VAT? No. Should I? I'm like, well, what, you planning to fuck about with a couple of quid? Like, what are you playing at? You've got the potential here to do something big. Of course I'm registering for VAT for day one. Well, you know, when you get your details through to do it. Do you know what I mean? But it's that mindset.
Yeah.
It's like you don't come out of something big and then look and go, oh, how can I play small?
Mm-hmm. No, you can't.
Because it's your new normal. It's how you're wired. You're built different. What I was saying a minute ago about simple success being hard, the expected stuff, that's actually the harder path. What's easy is sedation, is drink, drugs,
absolutely,
porn, gaming, distraction, sitting doom scrolling for 3 hours at night. That's easy. And people will convince themselves that I'm just taking a minute, I'm just having a break, I work hard. Great. But you know what? There's other people going through the same shit as you who are working harder, and instead of sedating through the bullshit, they're maybe going to the gym, or they're meditating, or they're doing something where they come back more powerful for it.
Absolutely.
They come back stronger, more powerful. For me, it's my sauna in my house, it's my time at the gym. I was in there right now, that's why I'm all rough around the edges.
Podcast,
I come in and I look rough this morning. I've just trained. But the thing is, if you've got that foundation of success, which to me, success is subjective.
Absolutely.
It means something different for every person. But I would say that an unbreakable definition of success is that core foundation of connection, love, happiness, peace, comfort within yourself. If you've got those things, if you're ticking those right boxes, then everything else is a bonus, right? Because you can always return to that peaceful place. And you shouldn't sit there. You can't sit and meditate your way into a bag of money for your head.
No.
Despite what the books say, right? But then all the trimmings, the cars, the houses, the life, everything else, that's the cherry on top. That's the stuff you get to enjoy. Whereas a lot of people will get that stuff or put themselves in really hard positions, create massive debt, and do things that don't necessarily serve them. I'm going to Turkey to get my arse fucking inflated, or I'm going to get my lips done, or my hairline changed, or I'm going to go and get my belly tucked in. And why don't you just go to the gym? You know, why don't you just do the work? Like, you know, or you know, I'm going to invest in a Lambo, right? I'm going to get a Hurricane, right? Okay, great. So the Hurricane's the lower end. It's a 2016 plate. It's 20-25 a day. You're trying to look good. Nothing wrong with that, but you're trying to look good to people who don't give a fuck. And you're missing the foundation that should come before that. Whereas if you've actually got a foundation, then you can build all that good stuff in, but you can do it for a place of strength.
100%.
Do you know what I mean?
100%.
You know what it's like, mate? You get a car and you're excited for 5 minutes. Then a couple of weeks later, it's an expense. It's a big ass bill. It's a lot of money going out every month on my car, on my insurance, on whatever else. You know what I mean? Maybe it's a marketing tool. But yeah. Mate, the best car I ever drove was a 9-seater Vauxhall in Spain. Hired it at the airport, and I thought, this thing's brilliant. Can fit all my mad wains in the back. There's a big giant boot. I'm up high. You know what I mean? And it's costing me fuck all. Whereas back home, I'm spending $2,500 a month on my car. Come on.
Jesus, I know. Do you know how it's funny though? I mean, we work hard, right? And we build up businesses, and we get to the kind of the million, and we start to understand that we can afford all these amazing things, right? Do you know the really strange thing, Billy, is I don't do that anymore. I don't buy the big. I mean, I could go out and have in the company, the company could go and buy a 150, 200 grand motor. For what? For me to drive to a podcast to do? For me to drive to the office. Yeah. Like I've got a nice Lexus, beautiful car.
I saw it. Yep.
It's a nice, and it's fantastic.
It gets you where you're going. It's a beautiful car.
There's sometimes I think to myself, by the way, I get caught up in this myself, and you think, so maybe I should be driving a fancier, faster car. You get caught up in it, and I'm like, but I don't need it.
Aye.
Like I don't need it. I buy nice clothes. I like nice things, but I used to be a want and a need, right?
Aye.
So things that I want no longer interest me. It's, do I need it?
Yep.
Do I really need a 120 grand motor?
Yep.
No, I don't need it. And I think that changes as well. By the way, that was business that taught me that, because in my corporate life, I spent like it was going out of fashion. I mean, 5-star holidays, 3-4 times a year, swimming pool in the garden in Dubai, driving a 150 grand car, and you could just get taken away with the lifestyle.
Aye.
My God, you come down to earth when you own a business, didn't you?
Oh, aye.
Because every penny counts.
I was telling somebody last night that my next big target is a boat, right? And I'm not talking a wee boat, I'm talking a big fucking boat, right? And they're like, that's mental. Why do you need that? Why do you need people to see you with that? I says, it's not about that. It's so I can, in comfort, get as far away from human fucking beings as possible and lie in the sun and enjoy my life and earn the spoils, Cars are great, mate. The rewards are great. I love nice things, right? But see if you're stretching yourself too far, too thin, or putting yourself in a really difficult position, you're actually hurting yourself, because when you go through those hard months, which you will, if you're in business long enough, even if you're riding on top like we were last year, suddenly something happens that you don't see coming, no matter how smart you think you are. Shit can change.
Absolutely.
Funding can be pulled.
Yep.
You know that.
Absolutely.
Funding can be pulled. Things can change. You can get a bit of negative publicity. Something can go wrong and it affects things. You've still got that big bill coming.
You've still got the
You've still got the big goose. You've still got the big cars. You've still got all the expense. And now you, who 5 minutes ago was flashing your watch on Instagram, now you're pawning the fucking thing.
Absolutely.
To get by.
Being that soldier.
Aye. Be smart for the start.
Absolutely. And that's exactly, I think that's a really good lesson actually to listening is you need to be smart in business. You really need to be, because we are taking big risks. We are putting ourselves out there. We're doing all the things that you need, because if you're not going to grow if you're not willing to take big risks. But you need to be smart.
Yeah.
You can't go for the big fancy cars. You can't do all these stupid things. You can, if you're willing to take the risk of it not going to plan. Right? You can. But I always think it's not even living within your means. It's this is how we operate, right? I always, so Enos, as you know, my wife is also a business partner. This is the conversation we have around anything. I'll say to her, I need a new BDM. Can we afford it? And she'll say yes. Or she'll say no this month. Or she'll say, give me 2 months.
Aye.
Conversation's ended because she deals with the money.
Yep.
VAT, so I don't know, we read a book, or we listened to a book a few years ago, and it was something about money. And it's about having all these different pots of money in a business. So your VAT pot, your marketing pot, your profit.
Aye.
Right? So this is how, so my wife then went out and set up all these business accounts. So we've got our main business account. And as soon as it comes in, 15% profit.
Off there.
Profit.
Yeah.
VAT, marketing. So she takes all the money and she's got in all these pots. So see when the VAT bill comes in,
It's handled.
all right, it makes you want to cry. But it's there.
When you see it sitting there.
But it's there.
Yep.
If we want to invest in marketing, there's a pot there.
Yeah.
If we want to invest in, she's got the business set up so clever that I don't actually ever need to say, if I know, she says, we need to get in a couple of big clients, and I know, right, would you get your finger at your arse, James?
Aye.
That's the conversations we have about building a business. It's really simple.
100%, mate.
I've got my lane, she's got her lane, and every single employee knows exactly what their lane is as well.
Yep.
Exactly. Want to go back to a point you talked about, the journey.
Yep.
Right. So last year, probably around June, July, August, we went through quite a sore dip, right? To the point that I was funding the business to a fair tune.
Last year,
aye. What happened is we invested a lot of money in employees and new businesses and systems and processes. Yep. expecting, right? Because this is a risk take part. Expecting. The last 4 years, my business has doubled in size. I thought, I know how to do this now. There's a massive difference between taking your business to 1 million to 2 million. Right? It's a big difference, right? And we were sitting at the 1.3 last year. I'm thinking, I want to hit 2.6. This is the plan for this year was 2.6. I want to hit 2.6. So doubled my marketing budget, doubled my staff, doubled the trainers to cope with it all. Nothing happened.
Yep.
We stayed steady. But I remember my spend is now went up about 30-40%.
That's
right? So my spends went up. But the sales didn't go up. Nothing moved.
Now you're in trouble.
No, I was in trouble. What I initially did, Billy, is I was blaming. I was pointing fingers. I was placing blame. You're not doing your job. And because I'm panicking. Yeah. Right? I was panicking because I was in territory I didn't really understand.
Aye.
And I started to panic. And then it was one of my employees, I think I mentioned this before, it was one of my employees, Stuart Mason, phoned me up and says, James, you're fucking this up.
Aye.
And by the way, Stuart is a man that comes with experience because he built a £20 million company and lost a lot. He was the largest independent printer in Scotland.
Wow.
And he lost all his property, everything. Remember the financial crash?
Aye.
All because of £250,000. The bank pulled all their money in and they took all his assets, everything. So he phoned me up and he says, he was really blunt. He says, I might not have a job at the end of this conversation. That was how he started it, by the way. I thought, this is not going to be good. I'm not going to have a job at the end, probably not going to have a job at the end of this conversation, but you need to listen to me. He says, James, you're doing this wrong. He says, a public forum, Teams meetings isn't a place to be having a go at people. You need to stop that. And I was devastated, man. I was almost in see after it. I'm like, I'm not preaching what I teach. I was under pressure. Mm-hmm. I was having a conversation with Inas about money, and she's like, I'm 40 grand for what we need to pay our salaries. And I'm like, more money at the bank. Luckily, she's very clever with money, so she's always got a wee pot there. Aye. And we were able to just see it through it. And I actually sat and I got the whole team together, right? I was about a week later and I got the whole team together. And I actually said to them, look, I actually wrote a post, I wrote an article on LinkedIn about self-reflection and how I fucked up, basically. And I got the whole team together and I says, I got this so wrong. I'm sorry. I was pointing fingers and placing blame. Do you know who I didn't look at? Me. Yeah. I didn't look at the mistakes that I had made and the mistakes that I was making and how I was assuming that yous all knew exactly what it is I was trying to achieve and why I was trying to achieve it. I never had those conversations with you, and I says, and I'm sorry. Business changed like that. As soon as I said that, all right, we cut a lot of spending back and everything like that, but we turned the business around. We had the best Q4 for years. We're in Q1, so we've had a bigger Q1 this year, and we've still got a month and a half to go than we've had any time in history. Just because I changed. We brought in new staff, right? Because the people that brought us to where we are last year weren't the right people to take us to the next level. That's a good thing about business owners, being aware that not everybody in your business is able to help the business grow. They'll hit their kind of tipping points, I suppose.
And your responsibility as a business owner is to see that.
Absolutely. It's to
identify the weak links.
It's hard though, because I probably held on to a couple of people 3, 4, 5 months longer than I should have.
Yes.
But only because, but they know my business and they get it and they've been with the company for a few years.
It's convenient. You care about them.
Convenient. You care about them.
Give them the chance, coach them, train them.
I
know everybody's
but when
loyal.
the shit hits the van, they don't care about you.
Oh, I know.
They'll throw you under the bus.
I know.
That's what I learned, and I thought, right, I've not got the right people. So I had to go back, get there, and I had to bring in new staff and new people, and like that was a hard pill to swallow, by the way. That was a really tough pill to swallow. We're probably going to finish this year probably about 300k up for last year.
Aye.
Nowhere near what I planned.
Yep.
But still a pretty decent year compared to what because we had that first half of the year was really sore. I mean, 6 months losing money every month.
It's not nice. And like I says, that's similar in a lot of ways, because you're sitting telling this story and you're saying last year Q1 you're flying, best Q1 you've had. That was me last year. Right. Thankfully you've not went down the road I went down. We weren't shut down. We closed. So what I made sure was that everybody who was a pending client who had work outstanding was taken care of.
Yep.
right? I took the staff and I rehomed several people, helped a couple set up business, and
I remember you
other people
actually
just
come to
kinda
me and
moved
asked
on.
if I was looking for any marketing stuff.
That's right.
That's right. So
because
you
I
did.
wanted to right by people.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? I want to make sure that everybody's all right. The only debt that we had was the government, which isn't ideal, but thankfully it was the only one that we did have, you know? And like you're saying about your guy with the 20 million, that's what kind of forced the change at the end, because I got a phone call to say, you owe this much money, pay it now. And I say, so listen, this is our turnover, this is how well we're doing. We've just had a couple of hard months. We don't care, pay it now. I says, if you're forcing that right now, I'm going to be forced to consider shutting this company down. And if I shut that company down, you won't get anything. But if you work with me, I'll make sure in the next 12 months it's all clear. No. This is somebody behind a desk who doesn't understand the story.
Absolutely, man.
And I thought, you know what? I'm going to make sure everybody's taken care of. And I'm
Think of
moving
the
on.
many stories out there exactly like that. People,
It's nuts, mate.
just because, I mean, in Stuart, he'll be happy. I'm sure he'll be happy enough for me to tell his story. This is a guy that started a printing business cards. Remember the CBs? Remember it? One for a copy.
Yes, aye.
He used to print eyeball cards
Right.
for his bedroom,
Right.
and he made that much money printing eyeball cards for his bedroom that he was making more money. His mum and dad were making salaries.
Brilliant.
He put himself through a pilot license, right? With the money he made, he joined the RAF.
Right.
Still, but so doing the RAF and the printing business, quit the RAF and went full time into print business and built this £20 million empire and lost. He was driving an Aston Martin.
heartbreaking,
He
isn't
had a helicopter. So he was a helicopter pilot, so he had his own helicopter.
Yep.
Some of the stories are brilliant. Stuart's one of those guys, you know, the guys you meet and he can just tell story after story after story and you're just sitting mesmerised. He's one of the guys. He's my business development director for the whole business. He oversees a lot of your stuff. And I love that the fact that he's been there, he's seen it, he's done it, and he's bought the T-shirt.
Aye.
And he doesn't want other people to make the same mistake. And that's why he came and joined us.
And that's why we're talking on these sort of
Absolutely.
shows and telling the real stuff.
Aye.
James, you said something a minute ago about, well, we were talking about, like, sometimes you need to swallow that bitter pill of letting people go. It's the nature of the game. Sometimes that's what we have to do, right? And sometimes to keep these people in jobs, people who are not performing at their best don't get to be there anymore.
Aye.
That's it, right? And I'll tell you a funny story that happened yesterday, right? So towards the end of this, it'd be great to talk about the new agency for a bit, right?
Yep.
But I am being very, I want to say cutthroat, but I'm taking no shit on this round,
Yep.
right? Because we're started strong, we're building something fast and aggressive, right? I'm doing it with the right people in the right places. And instead of saying, let's hire all these people, I'm saying, no, let's stretch ourselves to the absolute line. Let's stretch every resource, every person, not in a bad way, like breaking people's back for work, but let's get people to the point where, right, I'm at capacity, I cannot go any further. Now we hire based on the revenue, not in the hope of the revenue.
That's what I did wrong.
Which is the flip. That's what
what I
everybody
did
does
wrong last
fucking wrong,
year.
right? But just a very quick story about people is, I'm going to say this story because I don't really give a shit, right? It is what it is. But there's a guy that we brought on and we took him on for the last company because I rehoused a few people in the new one. And we've fought for this guy. There's challenges with his life that we've supported, right? And we've really bent our backwards to help him. And we've upped his wages recently to quite a significant amount based on immigration and what he has to be paid to be in this country.
That's right. Yep.
And that was a sore one. But it's like, no, the guy's a good guy. We're going to support him, right? And I was looking at the quality of the return that some of your clients were getting on the ads. And I was looking at this over the last few days. And I'm like, cool. Everybody's making a return on their ads. I'm happy with that. But I don't want a good return. I want an outstanding return.
They'll come back and they'll
I
spend
want
their money.
world class. I want you to be a client of mine for the next 10 years. I want to be sitting in 3 years' time talking about your next year's marketing strategy, right? We're already nailing it with the social media work we do, with the websites, with the marketing resources, the ads. People are getting maybe a 3x, 4x return on their ad spend and their management fee, which most people would be really happy with.
Yeah.
They are all happy. I don't want that because I'm looking at the gaps and I'm sitting looking and I'm seeing the numbers and I'm thinking, right, okay. So let's say, for example, in the last X number of weeks, we've had 56,000 impressions on this set of ads for this client. Great. So why is 1% of the people who saw the ad click through, right? Because in my simple mind, you know, people think that intelligence is complexity. I think intelligence is simplicity, right? Cut the shit, focus on what matters, go all in, right? I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, if we're getting this many leads for this client based on a 1% conversion of this many people seeing it, what can we do to take the 56,000 people that see the ad to maybe a 3 or 4% conversion of people seeing it, right?
It's a game changer in revenue if you did that.
I looked at the ad groups and so on, and I thought, interesting. If we just change these headlines here, cut the shitty keywords that aren't converting but are costing the client money, and made XYZ change, we could actually get a 3 or 4 times improvement on an already good campaign. So I sat down and I looked at this with a guy, and he agreed with me. He's like, yes, totally, 100%, I agree. And I says, great, so do you agree that this client could be getting like a 5 to 10 times better return than the great one you're already getting them? Absolutely. And I says, why the fuck are you not doing it? Why is it taking me to sit down and tell you that you should be fighting harder for this client? That the reality is that you're coasting through your job right now and you're doing what's expected and not exceeding expectations for the people you're supposed to care about. So yesterday I'm sitting thinking about this and I'm thinking, this isn't working for me. I need warriors.
Absolutely.
Right? For my clients. We go to war for our clients. We need fucking warriors to do it. Right? And then I got a phone call from a guy you know who runs another agency. And he says, Billy, listen, I would never take somebody for your team. I don't know if this guy still works for you or not, but I've had an application for a job. That fucking guy.
God.
Right? The guy gets called out on his poor performance and starts looking for other jobs. So do you know what? I feel good because I'm catching these things this time.
Wow.
I'm running lean enough that I'm able to see this is what's happening here. I'm rewriting the rule book, mate.
Aye, good.
See, when it comes to social media marketing for Mayhem, as opposed to what we've done before, I have went out in the trenches. I've took the photos, I've took the videos, I've edited the content. Friday night, somebody in my team says, oh, we can't do that. I was like, cool. Last Friday night, when the girls were in bed, I stayed up for 6 hours and I learned how to do what they said couldn't be done. And I says, right, motherfuckers, there you go.
I love that, right? Billy, I love that.
Advertising, the websites, rather than people taking 3 months and think that's okay for a website to be built. Nope. Because I'm sitting there now and I'm like that. I'm going to build the next fucking website myself. I'm going to take what experience I've got and I'm doing it, right? Instead of taking 2 days for best practice to come up with 3 logo designs, I done it in 3 fucking hours and the client loved it. So I'm rewriting the rule book and I'm teaching that to the staff because we want to go faster, more aggressive and fucking nail it.
So I want to ask you, on that note, I want to ask you a question, right? We're getting near the end, Billy, right? Yep. In my experience, right, and this is not a dig at Martin, but in my experience, most marketing agencies are shit.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
We're personal experience, right? We brought in a big company, a Scottish company.
Yep.
I don't know if I should say their name or not, or maybe I better shouldn't I? So a big Scottish company, right? Very well known Scottish company. We brought them on in November. Quite, not expensive, but we're spending quite a bit of money on them, with them. And it was really just Facebook and LinkedIn marketing. I think I talked to you about this actually. And anyway, so we brought this company on board and we spent about 4 hours building they sent us all these questions and about business and growth and ideal clients, you know the thing. Right?
Yep,
we spent about 4 hours
full diagnostic,
filling it all in, everything. And we sent it to them and they never read it.
Wow.
Do you know how I know they never read it? They denied it, right? I fired them, by the way. Yeah, I told them, take me to court on the contract if you want. It was a 6-month contract. Take me to court if you want. I'm out.
They've breached their part.
I'm out. I was looking at my ads, right? And I'm looking at the words on the ads. And I'm looking at the headlines. And I'm thinking, it's not my business.
Aye.
Like, where are they getting this stuff from?
Fucking AI.
And Billy, that's what they did.
Of course they did.
Because with Americanised spelling, with Zs, and it was actually our marketing team that came back and said to me, James, they're using AI. So I had to go on the phone and have a call with him and says, if you use AI again, you're done. Stop using AI. I didn't come to you for AI. I can go and use AI.
Yep. My
marketing team's, I says, I brought you on to make I always am a big believer, right? And I'll get to my point in a minute. I'm a big believer that hire people who know more than I do, right? Because people hire me because of my knowledge and experience. So I want to hire people who know more than marketing and can take my business to the next level. And I have probably used 5 or 6 decent sized companies in the last 4 or 5 years, and every one of them have failed. And it's going back to something you said. They normally come in and the last one didn't do a good job for day one, but they normally come in and they normally do a decent job for you.
At the start.
And it tails off.
Yeah.
And then I've got to go back and pull them up. And see, once I've pulled something up 2 or 3 times, that's it, they're out. That's done. Because it's not my job.
Of course.
I pay you to come and tell me what I should be doing better,
Aye.
not me telling you. So what makes you different? I know you've kind of just said it, that you're rewriting the rule book, but tell me, just as we close, about Mayhem and why I should come to you. There you go.
So there's a few reasons, right? Number one, because we actually give a shit, right? And that stems from the fact that I'm talking authentically on this podcast, right? I will tell clients, I do not agree with you. You're going to make a mistake. And if that comes at the risk of losing that client, I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. Because if I can't get you the wins that you want, I will not take you as a client, right? For me, a lot of people, including people for the last company, when they took on a new client, the onboarding process, it would be fairly standard. So I'll give you an example. There was a guy who in our last company came on board towards the end, right? He paid a sizable amount of money. My team then took him through his onboarding for the branding session, right? And he came back to me and he says, Billy, I think I just want to cancel. I says, why? And we spoke about it and I re-listened to the calls that the team had done. And honestly, mate, they were asking questions because it was the next question on the list. Mm-hmm. And I says, stop right there. I'm going to take you through this. So I'm not interested in fucking notes. I'm not interested in the next question on the board. Do you know what I want to know, James? What you're all about, why you started, what your mission is, what
That's
your
your
vision
brand.
is, what your values is.
That's your brand,
right?
innit?
What you stand for, what makes you different in the market, what are you known for, right? I want to know everything about you. I want to know everything about your clients. I want to know what makes you tick, what makes them tick, what challenges your clients have had with other companies that they've done business with in the past. I want to know it all. And if I know that, I'm armed with the ability to actually create shit that works for you, right? And I'm training my team right now that we want clients for life, because it's very easy to take on a client, have a few months worth of payments, and then have there be disagreements or everything just settles down.
That's what always happens, doesn't it? It's that settling, it's that.
We're not playing that game.
I call it tailing off. It was not even settling down.
Aye.
Because actually what happens is if they're not constantly trying to upgrade your ads and your message, you're actually losing. So your spend goes up.
Because the market changes as well. Social media changes. What best practice is changing all the time. So what we're doing is we're taking the lessons we're getting for the big boys who are making it work, and we're putting that little bit of tapered down Britishness on it to make it palatable or acceptable, but still with a fuck you punch in the throat along with it, right? Just like with the ads team, we're all about results, and the way that we're measuring that is because every week we have a meeting with our client. There is no, here's an email report to say a few numbers that you don't understand. There is no, by the way, we didn't get you any new followers this week, but don't worry, we're on the right track, we're in a testing phase. Fuck that. I'm sitting down every single week and we're having a sit-down chat with every one of your clients. How are you getting on? This is what you spent, this is what you made. How do you feel the ad campaigns are going? Is there anything we're doing that isn't in alignment with what you're saying to the market, right? We sat down yesterday, Stephen Pettigrew, who is actually in the studio next after us, and we sat down with had a very real conversation with Stephen. I went down and personally coached his videos to get the best out of him, because we can do the best video, the best audio, the best captions, movements, disruption patterns, colour grade. We can do all of that shit. But I need him to have the right hook to keep people in. So we're coaching him through that. And then I'm pulling him aside and I'm saying, Stephen, you're missing a trick if we don't build this. You're missing a trick if we don't write that book. He's like, how much is that going to cost me? I says, fuck all, mate. Because for what you're paying us, I'm going to get you these wins and you're not going anywhere. You're my client for life. That's what we're doing, mate. We're going to war because we want to win the fucking war for everybody who pays us. And I will take no shit, no passengers and no prisoners along the way. Mayhem is going to be one of the biggest and most successful and disruptive. So I'm expecting a hell of a lot of negative press along the way with people who are happy to coast, who are happy to give subpar results to their clients. Fuck you, watch us.
Oh, love it, Billy, love it.
Get a bit aggressive there.
So how do they get in contact with it? How does people get to contact you or listen to the podcast? I really like what that guy says. I'm going to give it a shot. How do they get in contact with you, Billy?
Social media at I am Billy Farrell. Right, you can get me there personally or mayhemmarketing.com.
Fantastic, Billy. Listen,
Beautiful.
Been an absolute pleasure as always, mate.
Always,
Absolute pleasure. Thanks,
Brilliant.
buddy.